Um, I'd like to put one thing in order. I am no longer principal of Vivek High. I sought retirement by the end of 2009. I began to feel that I had not got time to do things that I wanted to do. I had not read a book in 20 years which was not connected with my work. It was only the reading that I did what was connected with my work. I wanted to go back to the things that I have not had time to do. So 1st of January, since then, I have been my own person and free. But I love being with teachers, and it's my privilege to be with you on Teachers' Day. It is our day, it is a special day. I'm delighted. I'm privileged to be in this beautiful city. This is my first trip here. And up in the north, we miss the sea. And I got a glimpse of that sea from the plane. It is absolutely awesome. I hope to see more of it. The topic of my today's talk is the educator of the 21st century. At the dawn of the 21st century, the education of the young people to take up challenges of the new millennium has assumed great responsibility. To be able to prepare young people to face the future with confidence, purpose and responsibility. The crucial role of a teacher cannot be overemphasized. Therefore, let us take a look. What are the characteristics that we expect to see in a 21st century teacher? I shall start with the first one, the adapter. A teacher has to be an adapter all the time. All the time you're doing a juggling act. The 21st teacher is definitely a adapter. We must be able to adapt our teaching methods, our teaching styles to include different modes of learning. We know that it is not every child does not learn in the same way. There are children in your class who are dyslexic. There are children in your class who are hyperactive. There are children in your class who learn faster than the others. There are some children who learn through audiovisual, and the teacher in the same class has to be able to mold her teaching method to all that, to collect all different modes of learning. You have to style your teaching to collect all of that. An adapter, as we need to be connected to our students at all times. We need to always adapt to the needs of the children. No matter what we plan, no matter how we plan, our students can hijack the class. You may come with a prepared lesson, but the children may ask you a question that is not dealing with the lesson at all. You have to be equipped. You are an adapter to shelf what you had planned and go on to what the child is asking you to do. Because when he is asking a question, he's open, he's receptive. That is the time to go ahead and teach. It doesn't matter if it is not what you had planned for that day. There has to be fluidity in the classroom. We cannot teach from a lesson plan prepared 2 years earlier. We may be techno-savvy, but for some reason, if technology fails, the show must go on. The next is a visionary, a characteristic that says a teacher has to be a visionary, a generator of ideas, a teacher who can look ahead for her students and visualize their needs and equip the students with the required skills. The visionary will be able to strengthen the value system. If you can give a student a value system, you are preparing a child to face life no matter what comes in his life. We are empowering them to make appropriate choices and discerning right from wrong and to live a life of integrity. It comes from you. A teacher is a collaborator. Look at the ants. We all have to collaborate, indeed an important characteristic in the 21st century. What is it that we need to collaborate? We need to encourage group work. It is a skill. You have to concentrate on skills, to work in a teamwork, to work amongst you have to pass on this message of teamwork to your students, to your parents and to your colleagues. The strength lies in teamwork and responsibility within that group to work in that team. You have to teach them to take on responsibility within the group. We all teach in our schools, giving out projects. There's more work is done hands-on project. It's no longer talking to the child. It's hands-on, it is doing. So if you break up your class into smaller groups of 5 and 6 and give each group a different part of the project to do, and make it important for the children to realize that each one will take on his responsibility, then and then alone will that project be completed. So every child has a sense of responsibility within that team. The ability to work in the team is strength. These are skills we have to get across to the children. We have to encourage to the children. What about colleagues? How do we collaborate with our colleagues? We share our knowledge, our skills and resources with our colleagues. Then only can we enhance each other's growth. I remember as a young teacher, I'll admit to you, I think I was just a year or two into teaching, and my favorite age group of teaching has been 6-year-olds to 8-year-olds. I love that group. They are so open, ready to take off. They can read and write, but they are open to learning so much. I was teaching them to read time, and I don't mean digital time. It was the clock. I felt that I was not able to get across to some students the concept of quarter past, half past, quarter to. The 6-year-old could not understand. I shared my apprehension with my colleague over coffee. And I said, I think there are 3-4 students when I am not able to get across to them. She said, why do you not come and sit in my class? I will conduct this lesson in my class. Come and watch. I did that. She shared her knowledge. She shared her skill with me. She took an apple into the class, the whole, and cut it into 4 parts, and told them that in one whole there are 4 quarters. She brought out 4 portions of the apple. So when it is quarter past, she removed 1 quarter. When it is half past, she removed 2 quarters. When it is quarter to, she removed 3. I learned something, I learned a skill from my colleague. You have to collaborate. Remember, like those ants, a lot more gets done. I learned a lesson, went back to my class and taught the same thing, and lo and behold, I was able to do it. This is with colleagues and children. Now, how do we collaborate with parents? Very closely. We have to interact very closely with the parents, encourage, with the school management, and take on responsibility, encourage them to take on responsibility within the school. After all, you will realize that parents are a great resource for the school, a tremendous resource for the school. I introduced into the school a soccer league. I'm very passionate about sports for youngsters. So we started this soccer league, which meant 4 teams of soccer playing simultaneously on the school field. Classes 1 and 2 made 1 team, 3 and 4 second, 4 and 5 the third team, 7 and 8 formed the 4th team. This was voluntary because it was on a Sunday morning, and it's not easy to come out on a Sunday morning. But I thought that it was a great time for parents and children to interact, because there's not enough time, not enough interaction between children and parents. So the teams were made by the parents. They did the coaching, the training, and they were the managers of the teams. The school, yes, officials are there, the sports masters, and maybe a school official, but they are only facilitating and standing outside on the periphery, allowing parents and children to bond, allowing parents and children to take on responsibility within the school. That's collaboration with the children, with the teacher, and with the parents. We were talking at breakfast today as to how a teacher has to be a risk taker. How are you to be a risk taker? No matter how confident you are of your subject, we have MAs, PhDs in their subjects. It is only after teaching that subject that you truly become masters of it. When you teach, as you talk with the children, as you interact, you become masters of your subject. You begin to grow. What I was 30 years ago as a teacher, what I became a teacher later. It is a two-way process. I learned. I continue to learn. As we become risk takers, we become confident, we encourage freedom of thought and action within our classroom. We are willing to try out innovative methods. If you are not a risk taker, you will not attempt an innovative method. You are willing to take on innovative methods when you are confident of your own subject, of yourself. You will encourage students to question the unquestionable. We encourage our students to become creative and imaginative. We must trust our students and allow buddy teaching and buddy checking. This is an American term. What is buddy teaching and what is buddy checking? Buddy teaching is in a large class, again going back to 6-year-olds to 8-year-olds. I remember an 8-year-old, I was not able to get across the unitary method in mathematics to an 8-year-old. And I realized that this concept was extremely important for the following concepts for the child to understand. I must be able to get through this unitary method to the child. I'm sure there are mathematicians here, you will understand. I tried and I tried. Again, I thought of 1 or 2 children who were very quick and fast to finish their work, and this child was still struggling with him. I asked one fellow, I said, Rahul, come and help Vijay finish his work. He sat with him and I watched. I took a chance, I took a risk. I watched from my chair to see what was being. He was able to explain the unitary method by giving him examples from their play field. He had come down to the level of the children. It was done. And a child, buddy teaching. Buddy is a friend. He did it. Buddy checking. What is buddy checking? All of us some point of time in our teaching do objective work. True and false, right and wrong. Especially when we are recapitulating near our examination, isn't it? Quickly revision. But then you cannot take all those exercise books home because you want the children to have the books. Where are they going to study from? Where are they going to revise from? So we do a lot of this on the blackboard. We say exchange your books. And you tick mark and the teacher calls out the right answer. We take a risk that the right one will be marked right and the wrong will be marked wrong. Not because he gave me a punch on the field yesterday, so I shall mark his right also wrong. But this is buddy checking, and we must trust our students. Is a learner. A teacher remains a learner all his or her life. For a teacher, learning is a two-way process. It's a not one-way process. The moment we stop learning, the moment we stop growing, we need to consider some other career. You cannot be teachers. I've known a world without computers. I'm old enough for that. There were no computers in the beginning. When computers came into our lives, we all resisted learning. And some learned, yet some learned so fast. Some struggle. I still do. I need help. But I'm determined that when I go back from here, I'm going to improve my computer skills. And next time I shall do my own computer work. I'm continuing to learn at the age of 64. The highest integration of knowledge comes when you teach others. That is when knowledge integrates in your mind because it reiterates, reaffirms what you're teaching. Now we are all learning and all the changes that are coming into our educational system. It may appear chaotic, but some good will emerge. We cannot oppose it or wish it away, I think. So it is about time that we made virtue of necessity and start working on how we can cope with the change. Now let us see, with this act not being passed, what does it mean? We are adapters, and after all, change is the only constant factor in our lives, so we should be ready to learn and change. The communicator, look at that little fellow, communicating. Communication, acquiring and processing information are the key skills of the 21st century. Do you agree with me? Let me go over this again. Communication, acquiring and processing information are the key skills. And it has to start with the teacher. It has to start with you. It is not enough for you to know your matter. It is not enough to have good ideas. It is not enough to know all the answers. You have to be able to communicate those ideas at an appropriate time in an appropriate manner. That is communication. You may know all the answers, you have all the good ideas, you have all the matter with you, but if you are not able to communicate that to your students, what good is it? It's good for you, but not for your students. You have to know the appropriate time and the appropriate manner how to communicate. These require interpersonal communicative skills, so important in today. Above all, we need to communicate with understanding and sensitivity with our students, their parents and colleagues. We need to build bridges with them to allow learning to happen. Learning will only happen if we allow communication. No matter how we are advanced in technology, the bottom line will always be how extraordinary you can make a child feel at the end of the day. If you can make the child feel extraordinary about himself, you are a good teacher. No matter what technology we have, yes, we won that award and everything, but the important factor is the teacher, the human factor. We as teachers can do wonders for the self-esteem of a student by acknowledging his or her effort with an encouraging smile. The model, the role model. We cannot shirk this responsibility of being role models to our students. Today's family fabric is changing. From the joint family, it is becoming a nuclear family. In several families, there are both parents working, like your and my family. And sometimes a parent has very, very long hours to work. And it is true that sometimes the teacher may see, the child may see a teacher more frequently than his own parents. This is not a criticism of a parent, it is only a reflection that this does happen. I remember a worried mother who remarked that her son would see Shah Rukh Khan on the movie, on the TV more often than he saw his father. Because when the father came home after working at night, the child was asleep. So who's to be the role model? So we cannot shirk our responsibilities to be a role model as teachers. Children do look up to you all the time. They notice the way you dress, the way you talk, how you teach. They learn and observe far more than we realize. They imbibe. They imbibe your language, your attitude, our values, tolerance, acceptance, and our sense of integrity. This is what the children will learn from us. You are all leaders because you are all teachers. A teacher, if you have all these characteristics that we have been talking about, you automatically become leaders. We help our pupils to become independent thinkers, to form opinions and have the ability to express it. And yet, which is most important, is to have respect for the opinion of the other person. It is not only important to be self-opinionated and think, I have an opinion so I can voice it. No, you have to voice it with humility. You have to be humble enough to accept the opinion of others. It is, after all, a teacher who takes a child from the lap up the ladder. It has been my experience that with the positive attitude and a sense of humor, you will always find something to laugh about. It may be a joke that you have made up as you are teaching. Remember, we make up a lot as we teach. It could be a joke that your student tells you. And sometimes the children say the funniest of things without realizing it. Find the fun and enjoy it. There has to be joy in the classroom. These are what are required to bring about change. We need a vision, skills, incentive, resources, and action plan. You have to be prepared. Then only will there be change. Now with the four, let's remove the vision. Now if the teacher continues to have the other four, but no vision, what is it going to result to? What will be? Confusion, with no vision, there's going to be confusion in your mind. You may have the vision, you may have the incentives, you may have the resources, you may have the action plan, but there is no skill. You're not trained enough. What happens? Anxiety. You are too anxious. What am I going to do? I don't know how I'm going to manage. Next. Now we'll take away the incentive. We were talking how we should make a teacher's salary a breadwinner's salary. When the incentives are not encouraging, what happens? What do we get here? Resistance. Incentive is removed, there is resistance. We do not feel encouraged to do our best. The year an increment is announced, the year when the 6th pay commission, the increment is announced, how encouraging it is. And you want to put in your best. You deserve it. In the next one, I think we took away resources. Now what would be in the resources? If we take away the resources, you don't have the infrastructure. Suppose you don't have the teaching tools, the infrastructure, the resources around you go. Then what do we have? Resources go and we have frustration. Don't you feel frustrated? When the resources that are required, what you need in the classroom to teach the various tools, the blackboard, when you don't get things that you need to teach, it was going to result in frustration. Now, if we take away the action plan, if the action plan is gone, which means you are not prepared for your class. If you are not prepared for your class, your lesson plan is not ready, you have not, you come into the classroom, and that's the biggest blunder any teacher can do, is to walk into the classroom not prepared. We will end up treadmill. What is treadmill? Kadam tal. एक ही जगह पे आप हिलते रहोगे, you will not go forward. Kadam tal. You know what is kadam tal? Treadmill. I thought of that. You just stay there, you will not go forward. Action plan. Your planning is very, very important. And remember, the children can smell a phony. The children know at once that the teacher is not prepared. When you say, okay, what did we do yesterday? On what page did we do yesterday? Then you're asking the children. Compare that to a teacher who walks into the class and says, okay, do not open your books, just watch and listen. For me, it is a Belgian nun who was all of 4 feet tall and nothing. I feel when I am teaching, I'm carrying her with me because I begin to teach just like her, like she taught me. We carry our teachers with us. Secondly, I feel that these achievers remember with great fondness teachers who are firm, fair, and patient. These are the things that a student values when he sees a teacher who is firm, because you show him direction. You are fair in your dealing and you are patient. After 36 years of teaching and administrative work, I feel that the work that we have done never stops. The seeds that we have sown go on and on and on. And I enjoy meeting my old students. And I'm eager to know how they are progressing in life. For me, the circle of the teacher and the taught is now complete. I am grateful for what I learned from my students now. I remember being at the gym one day, and I am not good with any of the technology, and the panel in front of me, I was not able to press the right button to get the right speed. And this young strapling youngster, an old student, comes and says, "Ma'am, allow me to do this for you." I felt so proud, I felt so good. I'm now learning from my students. I went to the High Court. I never seen the inside of a court. I had to follow up a certain case, and it was scheduled for that day. You know how courts run. At the entrance, the security man asks me, "Ma'am, where is your entry pass?" I did not know an entry pass is required. So I looked around helplessly, not wanting to miss out on the proceedings that were on in the court. And a young lawyer, an old student, comes and says, "Ma'am, let me get you your entry pass." She took me right up to where I was supposed to be. I couldn't have found my way. I couldn't have found my way to the courtroom. She took me there. As I said, the circle is complete. Now I am learning from them. If I acquire a new cell, the best person to teach me is a 6-year-old. He is the best person to teach me how to use my new cell. I'm looking at it, not knowing what to do. And so patient they are, and they will teach you. In a movie hall, after the end of the movie hall, there was a bright light suddenly. And I wasn't confident of my balance, and I held on to the chair. And here comes a strong, young, tall boy, says, "Ma'am, take my arm." It was an old student. So I'm at that stage in my life now, where the whole circle comes complete. Now I'm learning from my students because they have gone way ahead. I look up in gratitude for this. My last story, I am a storyteller, that's what they call me in my work, that I'm a storyteller. I weave stories into everything. The Storyteller is this is also a Teachers' Day celebration in the kindergarten, that is age 4 and 5. Kindergarten would be age 4 and 5. And this was a Teachers' Day celebration, and the teacher was receiving gifts of appreciation. So one little fellow, who was the son of a florist, brought her a gift wrapped up in brown paper. She received it and said, "Thank you." And she shook the box and she says, "I know they are flowers." And the little fellow says, "How did you know?" She says, "A wild guess." Next one was a little girl who was the daughter of a candy store, and gave her teacher a little gift. She shook it and she says, "Oh, this is candy box." And the little 4-year-old says, "How did you know?" She says, "A lucky guess." Now there was a grocery store boy from his father who runs a grocery store. He gave the teacher a bag. And she says, "Oh, what is this?" "But it is leaking." She put her finger on this and put it on her tongue. And she says, "Is it a Coke?" And he said, "No." She again touched it there, put it on her tongue and says, "Is it juice?" And he says, "No." Says, "What is it? I give up." Says, "It's a puppy." It's a puppy. So do you know what that leak was? So teaching is perhaps the only career for which we can neither be totally trained or totally prepared. Now look at this teacher. All the training, all the preparation. At the best, we can be totally committed. I request you to be totally committed. I appeal to you as teachers to be totally committed. I'm sure you will agree with me that teaching is not a job. It is an attitude. Teaching is the only profession which deals with the future always. And that's what you are doing. It's great coming here and spending this day with you. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my thoughts on teaching. I'm grateful. A very happy Teachers' Day to you once more. I look forward to spending tomorrow and to see your new city, in your city here. Thank you. Thank you very much.